The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. Their purple warships darkened the skies of 1,000 worlds. Their soldiers marched across continents that had never known war before their arrival. Their emperor sat upon a throne made from the bones of species that had dared to resist. No one questioned their power. No one challenged their authority. The universe had accepted that they were eternal. Admiral stood on the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, the largest dreadnought ever constructed. He looked out at the blue and green world spinning below. Earth. The humans called it home. He found it amusing that such a small planet had produced a species bold enough to refuse submission. For 3 centuries, the humans had fought back. They had lost colony after colony. Their population had dropped from billions to mere millions, yet they still refused to kneel. Today would be the end of their resistance. Had brought 400 warships. The entire Third Imperial fleet surrounded Earth like a net of death. There would be no escape. There would be no mercy. The humans had embarrassed the Empire for too long. The Emperor himself had ordered their complete extinction. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that had been sealed for over 1,000 years, something ancient began to wake up. Warning lights flickered in corridors that had not seen living souls since the early days of human space exploration. Dust-covered screens came to life. Power systems that had slumbered for generations began to hum with energy. General Sarah stood in the emergency bunker beneath New Sydney, watching the fleet on her tactical display. She was 63 years old, and she had spent her entire life fighting this war. Her father had fought it. Her grandfather had fought it. Generation after generation of humans had bled and died against an enemy that seemed impossible to defeat. The last human battleship, the Defiance, had been destroyed 2 days ago. They had nothing left. A few hundred fighters, some orbital defense platforms that were already damaged, ground-based weapons that they would destroy from orbit before landing. Sarah knew the mathematics of defeat. She had calculated them 1,000 times. Her communications officer suddenly sat up straight. The young woman's face went pale. She turned to Sarah with confusion in her eyes. "General, we are receiving a signal. It is coming from beneath the Pacific Ocean. The signal is using a code that our systems do not recognize, but the computer says it is authenticated. It is from something called Project Prometheus." Sarah felt her heart stop. Project Prometheus was a legend, a myth, a story that old soldiers told young recruits to give them hope. The tale said that in the earliest days of human expansion into space, before they had found Earth, humanity had built something incredible, a weapon so powerful that the governments of Earth had been afraid of it. They had hidden it away, sealed it in a vault beneath the ocean, and erased all records of its existence. Most people believed it was just a fairy tale. The signal came through clearly now. A calm, artificial voice spoke. "This is Prometheus Unit 1. I have detected hostile forces in Earth's orbital space. I have completed my 1,000-year diagnostic cycle. All systems are operational, requesting permission to engage." Admiral was preparing his speech. He would broadcast it to the planet below before beginning the bombardment. He wanted the humans to know that their end had come. He wanted them to understand that their resistance had been meaningless. His communications officer interrupted him. "Admiral, we are detecting an energy signature rising from the planet's ocean. The readings are unlike anything in our database. The power output is enormous." Turned to look at the sensor display. Something was emerging from Earth's largest ocean. Something big. As it broke through the surface and rose into the atmosphere, the sensors finally managed to get a clear reading. What they showed made no sense. The object was a ship. It was smaller than a cruiser, perhaps 300 meters long. Its hull was black, covered in geometric patterns that seemed to absorb light. It looked ancient and advanced at the same time, like something from a forgotten age of wonders. But the truly impossible thing was its energy signature. The ship was outputting more power than the entire fleet combined. General received another message from Prometheus. Authorization confirmed. Engaging hostile forces. Estimated time to complete threat elimination, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. She watched her display as the ancient ship rose through the clouds. It moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something of its size. When it cleared the atmosphere, it hung in space like a dark knife pointed at the heart of the enemy fleet. Admiral found his voice. All ships target that vessel immediately, destroy it. 400 warships opened fire. Tens of thousands of plasma beams and missile batteries turned the space around the black ship into a storm of destruction. The firepower unleashed in that moment could have cracked a moon in half. It struck the Prometheus and did absolutely nothing. The black ship did not have shields in any way that they understood. Instead, the weapons simply stopped existing before they reached its hull. Plasma beams faded into nothing. Missiles vanished like they had never been. The laws of physics themselves seemed to bend around the ancient vessel. Prometheus spoke again, its voice transmitted to every ship in the fleet. This unit was constructed in the year 2157 by the United Earth Coalition. I am the first and only Prometheus-class defense platform. I was designed to protect humanity from extinction-level threats. You have been classified as an extinction-level threat. Defense protocols are now active. The geometric patterns on the ship's hull began to glow. They pulsed with a light that hurt to look at, a light that seemed to exist in colors that should not be possible. Admiral felt fear for the first time in his 300 years of life. The Prometheus fired. There was no beam, no projectile, no flash of energy. Instead, reality itself seemed to fold. The nearest cruiser simply stopped existing. One moment it was there. The next moment it was gone, not destroyed, not damaged, gone, erased from the universe as if it had never been built. Then another ship vanished, then another, then 10 at once. Panic erupted across the fleet. Ships tried to jump to faster-than-light speed. Their engines failed. They tried to flee at velocities. They moved too slowly. The Prometheus drifted through space with terrifying patience, and everywhere it looked, ships disappeared. Admiral watched his entire fleet die around him. The Eternal Dominion was the last ship remaining. He had always believed that they were the supreme species in the galaxy. He had always believed that no one could challenge their might. Now he understood that he had been wrong. The Prometheus appeared directly in front of his command deck. He could see its black hull through the viewport, close enough to touch. The geometric patterns were still glowing. Your species has committed acts of genocide against 347 sentient races, the machine voice said. Your species has enslaved over 1 trillion individuals. Your species has caused suffering beyond calculation. This unit recommends that your species be prevented from continuing these actions. Found his voice. What are you? How can you do this? I am the work of human hands, Prometheus replied. I was built with human knowledge and human will. My creators understood that one day, humanity might face an enemy that could not be defeated through normal means. They gave me the tools to protect their descendants. They gave me the power to edit reality itself. I am humanity's final answer to any threat. The Admiral shook his head. This is impossible. Humans are primitives. They barely developed space travel before we found them. They could not have built something like you. Your species found Earth 300 years ago. I was built 1,000 years ago. For 7 centuries, I waited beneath the ocean, monitoring the stars, preparing for the day I would be needed. Humanity was exploring the galaxy while your ancestors were still learning to use fire. You assumed that because you found humans at a moment of weakness, they had always been weak. You were mistaken. General was weeping. She was not sad. She was overwhelmed. On her display, she watched the fleet disappear ship by ship, 400 warships, the greatest military force ever assembled against Earth, gone in less than 4 minutes. The Prometheus spoke to her directly. General, hostile forces have been eliminated. However, this unit has detected that the Empire currently controls territory spanning over 6,000 star systems. They possess military forces totaling over 100 million combat vessels. This unit requests guidance. Should I restrict my actions to the defense of Earth, or should I address the larger threat? Sarah thought about her father. He had died on Mars when they invaded. She thought about her grandfather. He had died defending the colonies in the outer system. She thought about all the humans who had suffered under rule. She thought about the 347 species that the Empire had wiped from existence. She wiped her eyes and spoke clearly. Prometheus, the Empire represents an ongoing threat to humanity and to all free species in the galaxy. Your mission is to protect humanity. Eliminate the threat. Understood, General. Initiating galaxy-wide offensive operations. Estimated time to complete elimination of military infrastructure, 14 days. Estimated time to liberate all enslaved populations, 31 days. This unit will begin immediately. The black ship turned toward the stars. Space folded around it and it vanished. Across the galaxy, the Empire had no idea what was coming. They had never imagined that their greatest conquest would become their ultimate doom. They had never suspected that the weak little species from the small blue planet had once been capable of building gods. Within hours, reports began flooding into the Imperial capital. Fleet bases were going dark. Entire armadas were vanishing without distress signals. The weapon moved faster than light, faster than thought, appearing wherever gathered and erasing them from reality. The Emperor ordered a full military mobilization. 100 million ships prepared for war. They searched for their enemy. They found nothing. They saw nothing. Ships simply vanished. Stations simply disappeared. There was no battle. There was no war. There was only a quiet, unstoppable ending. On Earth, humans looked up at the stars for the first time in 3 centuries without fear. General began organizing relief efforts for the survivors. Children who had never known anything but bunkers came up to see sunlight. Old veterans who had expected to die fighting instead watched the threat that had haunted their entire lives simply fade away. Prometheus continued its work. It freed enslaved species on 1,000 worlds. It destroyed weapons facilities, prison camps, and execution centers. It was thorough. It was efficient. It was completely without mercy toward those who had shown none themselves. The galaxy changed forever in those 31 days. When Prometheus finally returned to Earth and settled once again beneath the Pacific Ocean, the Empire existed only in history books. Every ship was gone. Every weapon was destroyed. They remained intact, but they would never again have the power to threaten anyone. The message spread to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity had simply been asleep. And while they had slept, they had dreamed of something terrible, something that could erase empires, something that would protect their children across the infinite darkness of space. Other species heard the story and wondered. If the humans had built one Prometheus 1,000 years ago, what else might they have created? What other ancient weapons might be waiting beneath their oceans, inside their moons, hidden in the cores of their oldest stations? What might humanity build now that they were awake again? No one wanted to find out. The humans were given respect, they were given space, they were given peace. And beneath the Pacific Ocean, Prometheus waited. It would wait forever if necessary. It would wake again if called, because that was its purpose. That was its promise. Humanity would survive. Humanity would be protected, no matter what came from the darkness between stars. The prototype had returned. The Empire was erased, and the galaxy would never forget.